Hi everyone, I am Timna Tarr and I'm going to show you how to make a little apron pocket. This pocket's not attached to the apron, but this is what we're going to make. And we're going to do some little fused appliqué chickens. So you can find the pattern on my website at timnatarr.com, TIMNATARR.com. And you can download it off of the tab that says online workshops. So here's what we're going to make. What we're going to do is print off the pattern, and there's directions, but here's the templates. That's the most important thing. So what you're going to do is take these templates. This is 100%, so when you print it at 100%, and you're going to trace your templates onto some double-sided fusible. So I'm using Heat and Bond Light, but you can use Stay-Ma-Seam or Wonder Under or whatever you prefer. It just needs to have a paper backing because we're going to do some tracing. So what you want to do is trace your little pieces. And on this chicken, I'm gonna put it over here, there's white body, a red kind of wattle, the beak, this white space around the eye, and a black eye. So those are the colors that I use. You can do whatever you want, but just the colors are labeled on the template here. So what you're going to do is trace onto your fusible the template, and you don't have to be super duper accurate because they're chickens, you know, they all have their own personalities and their own shapes. And I'm using a light box because it might be hard to see, so you could tape your template and your fusible to a window if it's easier to do it that way, or use a light box. So here we are, I have the first one traced. I would trace them all out at once, and what I would do is write what this is. This is the body, and I put a little arrow so I know which way is up. And here's the white space around the eye. Put a little arrow, and I'll write, you know, eye here, just so I know what it is. And I need enough space around each shape so that I can cut it out with a little bit of buffer, or a little bit of margin. So once I have them all traced, I have them traced over here, I'm going to cut the shapes out, and see how I'm cutting it out with a little bit of a margin. That is going to be helpful after you iron it to the back of your fabric, because this is double-sided fusible, so it's going to fuse to one side of the white, because I know this is the chicken body. Let's move this out of the way. And then you fuse it to the back side. Since I'm using a solid, it doesn't matter, but if you're using a print, you want to fuse it to the back side. The paper side is what you traced on, and the bumpy side is the part that's going to stick. So put the sticky stuff side to the back side of your fabric, and then I'm going to use my handy, trusty Oliso mini project iron, which I love. These irons get very hot though, so keep it at a 2, because if you get the fusible too hot, it will release and it won't stick. So I'm just going to iron it so it sticks in place. Let it cool for 2 seconds. And now I'm going to cut it out right on the line. And the reason I don't cut it out until after it's fused is because this will help keep it from fraying. If I cut it out before I stuck it with the iron, it might fray a little bit, and we don't want that. All right, we're going to cut our body out. Cutting right on the line. All right, now you see how this still has a paper on it. We're going to take the paper off. And what I've done, you can see here, is I've already cut out all the other little pieces, so you don't have to watch me do that. But all these pieces have paper on them, so we're going to take the paper off when we're ready to place them where we want them. So for this guy on the apron pocket, I've cut out a 9 by 15 inch piece of blue background fabric, which is going to be the front pocket of the apron. And I've also going to do one that's 9 by 15 that is the inside fabric of the pocket. But for now, we're going to put it on the blue, and we're going to take the paper off, in theory. There we go. And I'm going to use my little picture here as a reference where to put everything. So I'm just going to eyeball where I want the chicken. I want the chicken right there. And then you're going to want to do it in layers. So the wattle is next, and the comb. Put it right there. And the reason I'm also going to do this at my ironing board because they're going to fly away if you try and move them. And these little itty bitty tiny pieces, see how that has an arrow that says up? That is so I know that's the top of the beak. Let's see if that looks right. Yep, so I'm just looking at this picture as I determine where to put everything. This one has an arrow too. And oh, I lost the arrow. So now I'm just going to look at my picture and figure out where it goes. Not that way. There we go. And now I'll move the beak down just a little bit. Again, all chickens are different. You notice I don't have the eye yet. That eye is super tiny. So I'm going to do the eye last, but I'm going to say this is how I want everything. Take my aliso again and iron it in place. And there it's stuck. And now I'm going to make my eye. So I have a little dot on there for the eye that you could trace, but really what I do is just cut out, I eyeball the eye, just cut it out in a circle. If this is too tiny and fussy for you, don't worry about it. You can put a little button there, or you can do a French knot, you know, anything that's going to make sense for you on how to make the eye. Right. Put the eye down and iron that in place. Okay, now they're stuck. And you're going to do the same thing with the eggs. On this one, I have 4 eggs. You can do eggs however you want. I've given you a little template on how to trace the eggs, you know, the egg shape. But really, eggs are all different colors, all different shapes. So just cut, and they're still going to look like eggs. So once you get your chicken where you want it, you get your egg where you want it, then you're going to take it to the sewing machine and use a zigzag stitch or even a blanket stitch or a straight stitch to sew all these pieces down, because if you don't, they will not stay. I use a clear monofilament thread, but if you want to match your threads, go for that. If you want to use one thread, you know, white thread through the whole thing, that's going to work too. Whatever you want to do. You can also, if you don't want to make an apron, you can make a little pin cushion. Here's a little tiny one that I have shrunk on my printer, so I've made it a little bit smaller. But okay, so now we have your apron front. And to finish, you know, let's pretend I've already stitched all this down at my sewing machine. To finish your apron pocket, you can put the right sides, this is your inside of your apron pocket, and put right sides together, stitch 1/4 inch all the way around, all except for about 4 inches. And then you can turn this inside out like a pillowcase, and you are ready to go, you know, iron the edges, and you're ready to go with an apron. If you want to put a little embellishment on, go for it. Put a little rickrack, some buttons, make it very cute. Do what you want to make it yours. Thanks everyone for watching, and have fun making some chickens.